We have just entered the period of the Shovavim, which is actually an acronym of all the Torah portions between Parshat Shmot and Mishpatim. And Shovavim, if you don't know in Hebrew, it means rebellious ones. So this is a time when we're supposed to be working on increasing our levels of purity and holiness in our lives. Just to quote from Chabad.org, they say it's a time to work on ourselves, to heal our connections, intimacy, and bonding with God and with others. So for the past few weeks, then in Rabbi Niven's personal development chabura, then we've been talking a lot about this, about the period of Shovavim, and how we're going to increase the amount of holiness and purity in our lives and in our homes, and so a lot of what we've been talking about recently has been the internet and how to have like a better relationship with the internet, like sort of like think about the ways in which we use the internet and how to use the internet in a healthy and safe way. First of all, I want to say, like, up until now, most times when I've heard classes or read articles about internet use, then I haven't really been able to relate to it, because usually, like, people say, you know, like there was this huge asifa in the summer, and basically there, like, the conclusion was, you know, no internet, or internet only with, you know, if you have to use internet, then only with a very heavy duty filter, but for me it doesn't, while I agree, like, this is like a wonderful idea and I approve of it, and I think that I think, like, kol hakavod, like, great job to anyone who can hold up to those standards and not have internet or always have a very serious filter on the computer. For me, it doesn't really work. Primarily because I have a website, and, you know, even this I'm making on YouTube, and for me to access, like, content for the website, I've tried to have a filter on all the time in the past, and it doesn't work for me, because then, like, people send me links and I'm not able to access them, and it just ends up being like I can't access the stuff that I need in order to maintain and get content, get good inspirational content for my website. So Rabbi Niven, though, he did like a bit of a different twist on how we should approach the internet, in terms of, like, using it safely. So he said what he said is basically, he said about himself that he lives in Ashdod, in a very, like, insular, he didn't say this, but I'm saying it, in a very insular Hasidic community, in Ashdod in Israel, and so for him, basically, like, he doesn't want his kids to have any contact at all with the internet. He doesn't want them to have cell phones. He doesn't want them to ever use the internet, and even to watch, you know, a Rebbe video, anything. But Rabbi Niven, he said that he understands that not everyone is living in like his kind of community, in his kind of insular community. He said, you know, let's say that there's a Jewish mother raising a family like a mile from Hollywood. So like for that mother to be raising children with no cell phone and no access to internet, it's going to be a huge challenge, and maybe not even, maybe it's going to be impossible for her. He said that everyone in their specific community and specific situation should look at what's realistic and what's realistic for them and for their families, and to make a decision based on that, on how to use the internet safely, and how to a bit up the amount of holiness and purity in our homes, vis-a-vis internet use. So I'm living in a different world than him. So I'm living in a world, like, my kids don't attend Haredi schools, they attend national religious schools. And so basically, like, in my girls' school, then the norm is that, you know, I think probably most girls, at least in the older grades, and they have email. Probably a lot of them have Facebook accounts, and that's like the norm. Like most of the kids in their school are spending a certain amount of time each week on the internet. So basically, what I decided for my family is that I have on a filter for part of the day, from 2 in the afternoon until 9 o'clock at night, around when my kids go to sleep. Then I have, like, a really strong filter on, and it's a filter that really, like, nothing can they can basically almost get through to nothing, unless I approve it. So, on there, it's pretty much sites. It's supposed to be sites which were handpicked for children. Um, so, um, So basically, after I heard this talk by Rabbi Niven, then I was sort of thinking about different things, like different ways that I want to increase, the purity and holiness in my home, so I started thinking about the internet, and I decided to something that I've never done before. But I decided to sort of like look and take like a new look at my kids' internet use. I also made some resolutions for myself, something between me and Hashem, ways in which I'm going to increase the level of purity and holiness in my own life, which I won't go into. But for my kids, I decided to. I knew that there was a way in theory. I'd never done it before, but to go and look and see what sites my kids are actually visiting on the computer. So I looked up. It's a very all of you can do it. It takes like for a second just look up on Google like how to find the history on my browser, and then like write your browser type like Firefox or whatever. I looked on Google Chrome. It's very easy. Basically in like one click I was able to see all the sites that my kids have visited over the past month. So Baruch Hashem, like things are really doing okay. It's true, like my kids are, the filter has been doing a great job. So I looked and I said, email. I saw like this daughter is looking at her email account, and that daughter is looking at her email account. And then I let my kids every day before they go to bed. I let them watch 15 minutes of YouTube, with the supervision of an older sister. They're allowed to watch like the 50s Disney videos like Chip and Dale or Donald Duck, or then like sometimes they watch the Smurfs, but only 15 minutes and under. So I saw like my kids have like 15 minutes every day of their YouTube. And then I saw something that sort of surprised me, that shook me up. So I saw that in the filter, the filter was letting my kids see Walla. Walla is like it's like the Israeli version of Yahoo. So basically, it's sort of like a general browser, but it's also a news site. And I saw that I can see like what articles my kids are reading. So they were reading about the Jerusalem blizzard on Walla and about something else, about the elections on Walla. And then my kids, I don't know which one. One of my children had read an article about the horrific story in India about the medical student who was gang raped and murdered. And this is actually an article it's a topic I don't, aside from that like one sentence headline, I don't know anything about the story because it's too horrific for me to read the article. I know that I wouldn't be able to, it'd be very hard for me to, get over that article, would like make it hard for me to function. So I'm not reading the article, but one of my children, maybe my 12-year-old, maybe my 10-year-old, maybe my 7-year-old, one of them read that article. I don't know what they made out of it, but it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought, Jewish mom, that I had a filter. I have I have an excellent filter, and so, like, my kids got through to this horrific news that I wouldn't have otherwise shared with them. So, so I think that it's sort of like it shook me up in a way, and it made me think about the ways in which, from where I am now, ways in which so I'm not getting rid of the internet, and I'm not getting rid of email, and I'm not God forbid I'm not shutting down JewishMom.com. I have my internet and I use it, and my kids use it, whatever. But I've decided personally to take 2 steps in order to I think maybe 3 steps to sort of keep a closer eye on my kids' internet use. I think I was sort of like a bit in denial about the whole thing. My oldest daughter is 15. I mean, she really doesn't use the internet at all. She doesn't use email. She barely uses the internet except for Wikipedia. But now, like, her younger sisters actually do. They come home from school and they check their internet and they check their this and da da da. So, and they check their the website of their youth group, Ariel. So 3 things I've decided. One is that I'm blocking YouTube. So I told my kids no more Donald Duck, no more anything, because who knows? Like, YouTube is, there's so much aside from there's mommy pep talks. There's good things, but there's also terrible things on YouTube, and so I don't want, even under supervision. I don't want my kids going there. And so I blocked that. Number 2 is that I decided that I'm going to get my kids Mechon Meir, which is a yeshiva in Israel. So they created a fantastic website for children. If you Google Meir Kids, MEIR kids. So with the .co.il is the Israeli site, and they have this fantastic kids site with movies and games and competitions and all different sorts of things, basically like targeted for religious kids. And it looks like they've done an amazing job. So actually, I just subscribed for it this morning. It's 26 shekels a month, which is about, I guess, divide by 4 a month. In dollars, and they're working on an English accounts, an English version. So I did that this morning in order to sort of be more realistic. Like, my kids are on the computer and they're using it and they're spending time there. So at least they should be, getting some good, healthy, educational, religious content when they're there. When they're on the internet. And the third thing is that I've decided that I want on a regular basis to be checking the history. I had been relying, I realize now, too much on my kids, on the filter. And just assuming nothing's getting through this filter. 'Cause I just know so often whenever I have to check something, I can't get through this filter at all. Anything I want to see, I can't get through the filter. So I just thought, okay, it's not letting the kids see anything except their email and their youth group site and nothing. But really, like, then it was letting them see. So also I blocked Walla. I guess that's a fourth thing. I don't want my kids going to Walla and like being exposed to very, very disturbing news story and graphic news stories. But I think that I'm going to try, like, once a month to look at my kids' history, to look at the browser and to see where my kids have been going, just to like keep an eye on what my kids are seeing and see whether anything new needs to be blocked and be in touch with them about that. So in conclusion, Jewish moms. So now we're in the period of Shovavim, and it's a time when all of us, when we need to like work on increasing the holiness and purity in ourselves and in our homes. And I think that I think of the internet. It's sort of like radioactive. So a lot of good things, you can do a lot of good things with like radioactive stuff. There's nuclear energy, very clean energy. There is chemotherapy. You can do like a lot of good things with radioactive materials, and also like the internet. Like, there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of amazing things, a lot of amazing content on the internet. There's Aish.com and Chabad.org and JewishMom.com. There's like good things here that you can get like inspired by the internet. But then again, radioactivity, one button, you can destroy an entire world, God forbid. It's the same thing with the internet. Like Rabbi Niven said. He said the men are falling like flies. The men are just like drawn to the darkest corners of the internet, and people are being destroyed, families are being destroyed. We need to be so careful, and as mothers, we need to watch what we visit, and where we're hanging on the internet, but also for our kids. Our kids are so vulnerable, and to watch out, and to a little bit like look. So what I would like to suggest is that all of us, from like where you are holding, look at your community and look at the standards and look at what's realistic for your family and for your kids, and to a little bit this Shovavim period over the next few weeks, to a little bit up the level of holiness in your family's internet use. I want to bless all of you guys, all of you Jewish moms, with an amazing week.